Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pucking Mad podcast. Today, it's a bit of a Blackburn Hawks takeover. A lot of people on here. We've got Carl Everitt, co-owner, Dom Osman, head coach, Tate Shudra of the Blackburn Hawks and the Leeds Knights, and then Dylan Harcourt, also of the Blackburn Hawks and the Oxcombe Aces. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. I think the thing that makes this podcast so exciting for me is the fact that you're one of the teams at this level of the pyramid that really has a direction in terms of how you want to play and how you want to shape your kind of your team. If we could talk first though about this season, obviously, Carl, how's it gone for you? Would you say this season? Has it matched your expectations? Has it been better? How's it gone?
Sorry, I got my daughter.
I'd say, first of all, Michael, thanks for having us on. We appreciate it very much. I think as far as the season's concerned, it was really about creating good foundations as far as the academy through to the senior team, getting Dom's first season under his belt with our club. Obviously, he had a bit of a sabbatical out of the game. So for him and for us to realise if we could work together really and see if we can get that infrastructure in place. So I think overall, our goals have been achieved. We've scored more points this season than we did last season with fewer games. That's fundamentally moving forward as far as we're concerned. But we have done what we said we were going to do, which is take chances and give opportunity and realise potential of our young athletes. So we've brought a team in that's sort of 6 years younger than previous. So for me, it's a patient approach. The fans seem to be loving it. I think that's always a key figure. We've got more sponsors than we've ever had. So as far as solidifying the club and building solid foundations, objective achieved. So really excited to see what we can build on for next year.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's amazing, really. I think this is the first season of implementing this sort of new vision. It's really awesome. Dom, what about you? Like first season back after a hiatus, I suppose. What tempted you to come back?
Well, I mean, I think I was always looking for a way back since the day I stopped. The way it ended and things like that, I was it was a lot for us with the Pirates and a lot for myself and Shane and Reagan, who were pretty much running the whole organization from top to bottom. So it was getting to be a lot, playing, coaching, and doing all that kind of stuff. And then no clear picture where the league was going. So we had no idea the league could have been folding. It ended. I couldn't rightly ask Shane to keep paying me through, the off season when we didn't even know if we were going to have a team. We had a kid on the way. Moved into a new house, so I needed to really take a look at kind of moving on, and that's when I stopped. But for the first year, it was all right. But then, things happen and it creeps back in on you. And when you've been a part of it since you were 3 years old, it's always going to come back. So it's always a part of you. And Sarah and I talked about it after a few years, and then all of a sudden, it really started to hit me last year, I think, just before I ended up meeting with Carl and Graham and Ollie. And that was when I was like, okay, kind of want to get back in. So, but that's what kind of got me back into it. I always wanted to.
Yeah, that's great. And how's the season gone for you? In obviously first one back, are you pleased with it generally, or?
Yeah, I feel like I almost haven't even been away from the game. But I guess since when you do it for so long, it just becomes a part of you. And I mean, I was extremely nervous. If you ask my wife, it was like, God, am I doing the right thing? Am I jumping in at the right level? And I was constantly second guessing myself in the beginning, but after I settled in. But the thing that helped me settle in was the organization, the way that Carl and Graham were, the way the support I had from them, from Ollie, even the guys. As soon as I got on the ice with the guys, the support I had from them and the support we were giving them, everything just kind of seemed to fall into place. We didn't have to work hard on just starting the direction, which was really, really good. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. Dylan, what about you? Obviously, I can imagine that like we say with an emphasis put on youth. How's the season been for you? Have you been I think it's 26 games, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
For me, the season, I think at the start of the season, it was obviously scored on my home debut, so I was like, right up there. And then, I had a bit of I don't know, I started doubting myself a bit, and then obviously signed the two-way, and it opened my eyes a bit. It's like, what, I can play at that level and above if I just put my mind to it. And yeah, I think Dom was really helpful with it as well, like just keeping my confidence up. Dom said to me multiple times, like, you are good enough to play at this level and above. And I think that's a big thing, like just getting confidence from coaches, getting confidence from your peers, and everyone's been so great this season. I mean, there's a lot of people that in my hockey career have told me, oh, you'll never do this, you'll never do that. But obviously it's always going to get to you. And I feel like with me this season, like I just thought, I had a chat with Dom a few months ago where I was like, said, you can do this. And I was like, I'm not sure if I didn't say I'm not sure if I can, but I was like, in my head, I was doubting myself a lot. And I was like, do you know what? No, just like put go for it. And I've done that. And I feel like I've excelled. I've improved more than I could have ever imagined this season. Like this season for me has been one of the best seasons of hockey I've ever played under Dom.
Great.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this season.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I think you can kind of see that everyone's smiling and stuff when you're talking about it, and that's a really cool thing that you seem to have this teamwork, and there seems to be quite a good ethic amongst everyone. If I can talk quickly, Dylan, about this sort of the two-way deal with Ultra Aces, I think a lot of people or a lot of teams have kind of turned their noses up at two-way deals in the past. It's something that, I think implementing it needs to be done right.
Yeah.
To work. Like, how's it been for you, and what do you feel is the thing that makes it successful?
Well, for me, obviously, I played for Ulti last year. We didn't have the best season. For me, it wasn't great. You go into a team thinking, do you know what, we've got a good team, man, and things don't fall into place. So it was a bit of a downer. But then obviously, I came to Blackburn. Was loving it here. Dan Dom said, like, right, we're going to put you on a two. I was like, cool, that's fine. Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot because, it's like you're playing up a level and then you're playing down a level, so you can excel more. And when you play down, it's more like when you play up, you're learning a lot, and then you take it into your game in the league below, and it's helped me a lot because, like, last season I was not enjoying hockey, and it wasn't really going in the right direction for me. But then I joined Blackburn, got on the two-way deal, and I was loving it. I think it's a really good thing, especially if players, are not excelling as much as they want to. If you just do that two-way deal, and you're putting confidence into yourself, you're on the ice all the time on a two-way deal as well. Like, you'll be playing first, second line. It's a lot, and you get a lot of ice time, so it boosts your confidence, and then you take that into the game like I have into Blackburn, and you just excel. So for me, it's been really good. I've enjoyed it. And my dad actually used to play for Altrincham and Blackburn, so it's quite familiar to me. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. The coach is Elliot Bain. I've known him for a long time. He's coached me through juniors and stuff. So I knew what I was going back to. And yeah, just going back to my roots, getting rid of that little bit of ego that I had, I think, maybe at the start of the season, and just focusing on hockey and improving, which has been a massive thing for me this season. So yeah, really enjoyed it. I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And Tate, what about for you? I mean, you've had one hell of a season, really, on paper. Yes, it's not bad. What how's the season been for you generally, across the board, everywhere, I suppose?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, Leeds winning the league quite recently. It's probably one of the best feelings you can get, lifting that trophy. Blackburn, obviously, playing lots more there. Really good always. Like, just getting on the ice, knowing the coach has confidence, all your teammates have the confidence in you to be that guy. Like, it's great. It's to have that again is just obviously amazing. But that's not the reason I went to Blackburn. Like, just to get on the ice, with a bunch of different group, like different people, different personalities. The room's amazing. Organization's great, coaches, owners, everything. Getting on the ice, just it's what I enjoy. Like, it doesn't matter where I'm playing. If I need to play third line grind, like first line, second line, I'll play anywhere. But just getting on, enjoying what I'm doing, enjoying coaching styles of both Ryan and Dom. But yeah, it's been quite an up and down season, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, I can imagine guys like taking this season. You say it's the first season with this new vision. You kind of, I can imagine putting it into practice has been quite a difficult thing. There's probably been a lot of concessions, having to take things on the chin. Carl, can I ask you kind of what's been that sort of, I don't know, what has been the motivation to change maybe the way that the club and the teams run? What caused that?
It wasn't so much of a cause. I think when Graham and I took the club on, we had an opportunity to sort of start again and, you know, start with a new long-term vision rather than being a bit short-sighted. Unfortunately, our first season was with COVID, so we had limited opportunity to implement things, but we made the most of it and we understood how we needed to treat the players. I think that's first and foremost. You know, we have a vision to be, you know, the club of choice, you know, and that's whether you be a sponsor, a volunteer, a player, a spectator, anybody. We want to, you know, and it's a high bar, but if we do that, then we should find that players enjoy playing for us, and the spectators like being around, and we get the support we need from sponsors. So, in terms of the motivation, I guess I love the club. So does Graham, and I think if the future is in youth, and these two gentlemen that's on here, I'm extremely proud of both of them. You know, I've seen Tate a few years ago, you know, much younger, and now he's a man, and he's following in some pretty big footsteps, and he's, you know, with his father and his brother, but ultimately he's his own man, plays his own style of hockey, and Dylan is another guy who is so tenacious and robust. So you don't have to be into it long to see the development of these players and see how we move the club forward, to be motivated to want to do it. I guess we needed to plan for the future. We didn't want to spend crazy money, high budgets on elite players and all that type of thing. And because the pathway, just back to what we're going to be discussing a bit more later, the link is directly through youth development as well as the academy. So it just required a fresh approach, a start again, and you know, let's see what we can do when we become the club that most people want to be involved in some way. So it was really just a big long-term vision, really, that we were happy to, you know, facilitate.
Yeah, that's great. And Dom, for you, kind of, I suppose you're the man who has to kind of put it into practice on the ice. Is it easy balancing the expectations of the management with what you can do?
It is easy when you have the players that want to be there, that want to do it. I'll be honest. I mean, they're the ones who've made it a hell of a lot easier for me, because they're wanting to be there. They want to be around each other. They want to skate. They want to play. And so I mean, don't get me wrong. The communication part of it, the setting it all up. I mean, Carl, myself, Graham, Ollie, we talk every day, 3-4 times a day. You know, obviously not like on the phone, but you know, through text messages. And when we started, we didn't have, we only had that, you know, a little bit of a connection between, you know, us, basically just relationships. You know, I knew Matty Davis. We got into Leeds pretty quick. But then, you know, when we were able to build from the step where we are to the level above pretty quickly because of the relationships that we were able to establish very fast. I mean, we went out to Hull, spent you know, had a dinner out there, and you know, went to a Leeds game, spoke with Ryan there. So we were able to, you know, Sheffield, Woody too as well. I was able to speak with him. We were able to establish that real quick. But what the challenge was for me, myself personally, was I don't know the English ice hockey as well as I people may have assumed I would have. You know, because when I left, it was just Pirates. That's what we did. We tried to build the strongest team and win a championship. That's all we did. We never bothered with development because I don't really feel that that's the National League and the elite league's responsibility. When it comes down to us, we still have a business to run. We still have to put wins up. We still have to bring sponsors and fans in. but we can focus a little bit more on development. I'm not saying all development, because you need your experience, you need those guys. And I think to an extent, a little bit, we've had the guys that have been there, have been great, that have that, but we may be missing a piece or two of that experience to help these guys and bring them along. But the biggest challenge for myself, getting back to that, was the level below, like getting to know the coaches, even get a hold of them and just to talk to them and explain the vision. And a lot of times when you're trying to reach out to teams below, like you said, it's hard because they don't really want to lose their players sometimes. Especially they might think, oh, they're just going to go after older guys and just take whatever's there, that, you know, the best player on the team, he could be, you know, 25, 26, but he can't go back down. So they might be afraid of that. But when I spoke to Elliott about it, I said, look, I'm not interested in, you know, the older guys on your team. That's your team, and that's what you need to build. What I'm interested in is the younger guys, and developing a pathway all the way through. So we had the pathway from Blackburn to the National League, but we didn't really have anything at the lower level. That was something I thought was going to take longer term to build. But, you know, we had that bit of a relationship with Bradford too as well. But that was solidified a little bit with a couple of two-way contracts. So getting to know them and getting to know the players was the hardest part. But, you know, you bring them out to training. You know, Dylan was one of those guys. He came out to the trials. That's where we saw him skate. And, you know, no disrespect to Dylan, but he got really lucky because we ended up losing a couple signings that to the Elite League too as well, or sorry, to the National League. But Dylan did a great job of battling as hard as he can to showcase himself, to say, look, you know, I have the potential. And that's what I saw in Dylan. And, you know, you got two guys on the podcast here that are at two separate levels, and no doubt that they can play at the higher levels, but each of their pathways is going to be different, right? So that was the hardest part, was developing the relationship between the teams below us and the teams, you know, the teams below us basically. And then you have the challenge of, okay, you got to go even further below that, right? So that started to come into play now too. And that's, you know, that took a full year. I mean, we're going into playoffs and we're just now starting to establish relationships with junior hockey clubs, right? To help filter through and things like that, and make Blackburn that, hey, look, if you work hard enough, if you're a guy like Dylan, if you're a guy like Tate, and you want it bad enough, well, put the work in. It doesn't mean that you could just jump here, jump there, jump there. You're not just going to go through it. You put the work in. You show up to training for each one of those teams that you're going for. You're on the ice 4 or 5 times a week, as opposed to just once a week training in one game here and there, right? You're going to get much better. And that's what we tried to establish, was how much ice time can we get these guys? That's all. That was the focus. Because in what you could see too, as well as it was mentioned, for the last few weeks, we've been playing good hockey, but we've been winning in the third period. And that's because our guys have been on the ice constantly. So they've got more legs, they got more fitness, they've got, you know, they can think under pressure and under tiredness. And that's what you're starting to see come through. But again, it took a little bit longer than we expected, but the relationships came a heck of a lot sooner than we expected to as well. That chart that Carl put together about the pathway, it was remarkable how fast that came together. I mean, you just blink and it's like, whoa, like we've got 80% of our guys skating at another level. And that's kind of, I think, unheard of at this level. So, within the NIHL, I mean, you got guys skating like Tate, skating with Leeds. You got guys like Dylan skating with, you know, with Alti. So I always have, I said it right that time. But that's where they're going to develop. That's where they're going to grow too. And that's what we want. Now, our goal is to get Dylan skating with them, playing with us, and then moving through from us to skating with maybe a National League team, maybe not playing, but skating with a National League team to the point where he's getting that ice time. He's going through. We've got a couple guys skating up in the National League now that aren't, you know, playing, but they are up there and they're getting ice time within the training session. So it's really showing what the pathway could accomplish and what players can achieve through it. And that's the biggest thing. We just, like Carl said, we want to be the club of choice. Now, from my end, it's the club of choice of players. That's my focus, and that's my area. And the best thing is Carl and Graham are really good. Well, I'm going to say Carl. No offense, Graham, if you're watching, but Carl's really good at keeping everybody in their lanes. So when you start to veer off into somebody else's, he kind of knocks you back into your lane. And they're very good at not coming into yours too as well. But we're all alongside each other, pulling and helping and things like that. And the players are doing a great job too. They respect it. They understand it. It's not easy for me to tell a player, look, you're going to be down with the Aces this weekend, but we're playing up here. But the more they realize that, wait a second, actually it's working. They're having fun down there. They're developing. They're being good. Then they come in and skate with us, and then all of a sudden, Dylan this weekend gets his opportunity because we get a guy thrown out. We didn't, Dylan was playing his 10th forward, and he's getting a regular shift now for the rest of the game, and he's doing the job that he can, right? And that's what we've tried to accomplish, which is great. So to answer your question, it's a lot of work, but I can't say it was really that tough. If we just communicate and, we do the right things by the clubs, by the players, by myself, then everything works.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's really amazing, because the thing for me, only as a spectator, really, I haven't got a fucking clue. But to be honest, like, it seems like we have a problem where we don't have enough rinks. There's not enough people playing. And so it seems that the only way you can do that is by having really efficient connections between teams. That's the only way you can really push player development, I would have thought. Tate, for you, how's it for you, obviously coming down and sort of like and playing at that level and then going to Leeds and things like that? How's it developing you, and how does it give you confidence in ways? Like, what are the benefits of it for you in particular?
Well, it gets me on the puck more. Like, it gets me on the ice more. Like, even though it's a level below, like it doesn't matter. Like, that ice time is so precious. Like, I'm 4th line at Leeds, 10th length forward. I don't get many shifts there, but whenever I get a shift, like, it's really special, like, precious for me. I take that, I grab it and I run. Like, I do as best I can whenever I get on. At Blackburn, it's no different. It doesn't matter that I'm getting however many minutes a game. Like, that ice time is just ice time to me. Like, I just see it as an opportunity to get on, play the sport I love. And Donald's given me the great opportunity for that. So it's just been great overall, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what about for you, Dylan? Is it the same thing for you? Do you value the ice time, or how's it? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, it's like start of the season, I was getting a regular shift, and then guys were brought in. And I understand that, like, completely. Like, you want to obviously better your team. So obviously, I wasn't getting as much ice time. Then I went on the 2A, and I was like, you know what? It's such a, like, the amount you develop is like ridiculous. That you don't realize it until you actually go out and then play for the higher team. Like, you're just more aware of things, and you're more like, it's just like Tate said, it's precious to you. Like, ice time is very precious to you. Like, as much as you want to work hard and stuff, that time that you're on the ice is not for long. 40-second shifts. It's not a long time to try and impress someone. But even so, like, you just got to work your ass off, and the results will come with it. So yeah, I feel like, especially with the Aces, obviously I've been getting more like a regular shift and stuff. Scored a few overtime goals and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely improved my game, and I'll be always thankful for that.
Yeah, really great. I think it's something that probably we've spoken about a lot, really, with this kind of the player pathway, which is something that we really could do with explaining a bit more, I suppose. Obviously, like Carl, for you, this player pathway thing, perhaps could you explain it in more detail to maybe people who haven't seen? I'll include that graphic as well, because I think that graphic's a really great thing of just explaining what this kind of system is. But could you
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. Well, fundamentally, as somebody like myself who plays recreational hockey, is not very good at it, but loves the sport. And I know that everybody who gets involved in hockey loves the sport, whether it be a spectator or a player. So for me, the key is to keep people in the sport, no matter what level their potential takes them to. So what we were finding is, and what I found actually, is when we were looking at building a pathway with an academy, the Blackburn Hawks Academy, which is a separate organisation, was not in the right position. And it didn't feel right that I was going outside of Blackburn to Manchester, etc., to try and look for players, and I felt like we needed to start to work harder and together to build a product in Blackburn that would, I'd love to see the juniors icing for the senior team one day. That's how it started. So I've been around Blackburn 10 years, that sort of thing, and I've built some good relationships. So for me, it was a case of we need solid relationships at every level. I could do certain elements myself, but I needed the help of Dom and Graham. So it was important that we started with the bottom of the pathway, which is ultimately academy hockey, junior hockey, and recreational hockey. So if a junior can't make it to league hockey, then really we don't want to lose them out of the sport. So we have a recreational hockey team, the Blackburn Renegades, that is very, very popular, but gives a player of that standard that opportunity to continue playing. And then as we move up through to the Bulldogs and the Aces, that was the Division 2 element. We then also Dom actually, we have opportunities to work with Scottish teams, so Kirkcaldy Kestrels, and Dom's relationship with Steve Wishart there, to work with players north of the border that maybe want to be more in the shop window down here to maybe go to the other levels that there are. So we built a really good relationship there. So every angle, we are very inclusive. We want to build relationships with as many teams as possible because it's good for the sport, and not to feel that to do that would weaken our proposition. And then obviously working with the National League teams has been great and heavily facilitated by Dom. And my relationship with Ryan Finnerty at Manchester Storm, I feel is a very good one. And they're our Elite League affiliate team. So, we have players going out skating with them. So really, we just didn't want a broken pathway, because that just means that somebody's potential somewhere is not being realised. And to have those relationships, I think, has been pretty key. So the pathway literally at Blackburn can start at the academy and can end at Elite League or beyond. It's all subject to the player and the coaching. But the coaching we've got over 100 years of experience between the 4 coaches that we've got involved in the senior team. So we are very much set up for success in that regard.
Yeah. And like kind of following on from that, Carl, with that, like obviously it's a situation where it's focused on the players and developing the players, pushing the players forward. What's the ambition for the team, for the Blackburn Hawks? Like, is it to progress it up the pyramid, or do you feel that the position that it's in now is the right one?
No, I think the transition or evolution of the club will be determined by its success, by its playing standard, by the size of the crowds, by the budgets and things like that. We have no immediate ambition to go to the National League because we couldn't sustain in that league. That's the only reason, and we have to bear in mind that our communities are in a cost of living crisis. So for us to step up into the National League and charge 40% more per entry is irresponsible in our view, and it isn't the fairest way to reward loyal fans. However, we were beating teams every week, and it wasn't really as entertaining to watch. Then we might have to look at the business model and change it. So I think success in the future will inevitably decide, where we go. But for now, it's about stability. It's about making sure what we offer players as far as gym memberships and support and resource, we can sustain that. What I don't want to do is sort of get too ambitious to the point where we have to start taking things away that we've looked to support the players and the coaches and the supporters with. Our match night experience, you're more than welcome to come down and watch, or come up and watch if you're in the area. It's pretty spectacular. We've invested a lot in the match night experience, the light show. So it doesn't matter whether we win or lose, everyone is entertained. There's no two ways about it. So for us, if we start with those fundamentals, as we develop as a team on the ice, then the success on the ice will come, and that'll just make it all the more appealing for fans.
Yeah. It's interesting you say about kind of the match day experience, which is something which I think a lot of teams are working on now, and it's a really cool thing to see in particularly in the league that you're in anyway, but also for the sport in general. If we can touch on something which is a little bit potentially controversial, if no one wants to say anything, fair enough, and I'll edit this bit out.
I'll answer that.
Yeah. So it's about obviously the National League. Your league at the moment, you've got teams like Solway who are at the kind of the top of the game, really. I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure I'll get absolutely abused for saying this now, that it would be probably wise for them to move up in terms of ability. Maybe it doesn't make sense, and holistically looking at it. But Dom, what's your opinion on movement within the leagues? Do you think it's something that they need to encourage or not?
When obviously you can't do that, because even if we built the team right now and we were where we are as an organization, as a program, and we were waxing every team every night 6-7-1, we still wouldn't be ready to go into that environment. You couldn't sustain the business. I'm fortunate enough to have been in that situation, having been part owner of the Pirates when they were around with Shane Smith, and so I know how it works, and I know what goes into it, and I know this and that. But when it comes to Solway, it's a different story. When you have pretty much the head of the organization saying we're ready, like we need to look at doing it, we need to figure out a way to get there, then as a national league, I'm sorry to say it, but they really need to let them in. And it's not because I want them out because we have a better chance of winning at all. And the fact of the matter is our players are developing better when they play against teams like that. Yeah. Right? When you go up against a team that's an average age of 24 and waxing every other team that, some teams in our league are average age of 26, 27, right? We're only 21. So when you have a team like that going out and doing that, then yeah, they have the right tools. They have the right amount of players. There are a couple pieces missing, but they feel as an organization, we can fill those. We can fill those pieces. Put the puzzle together, and we can do it. When they're shouting out that they're ready to do it, they've got to let them in. They have to, and that's my opinion, though. The fact is, I understand where they're coming from on the traveling and things like that. Now, if Solway are willing to take majority of Sunday games, then I can't see that there wouldn't be. On the road on a Sunday, I can't see why the National League wouldn't let them in, because it is more professional. Guys in that league get paid, and they get paid well. So I'm sorry, but if you want to work and play hockey and get paid, then you have to sacrifice getting up in the morning at 6 or 7 in the morning to go to work after you get home at 2 or 3 in the morning. That's just the way it is. Yeah. Now, again, that comes from the playing standpoint. From the organizational standpoint, again, if they're ready, then so be it. Then yes, absolutely, 100%. So I would say, yeah, promote that, but only if the team is willing and has a business plan and ready to do it. And it sounds to me like Solway's ready. So if we've been approached, and I'm sure our names got thrown in the pot a couple of times about moving to the National League, and with all due respect to Carl and Graham, we're not ready. And I told them that we're not ready, right? There's more ice time costs. There's more this, there's more that. Then you have to pay players to get them there, right? And we're not there yet. But with a good solid structure put in place, then maybe down the line, yes. But at the moment in time, what we're trying to do is build with the younger generation to try and pull them through. And they're more serious about hockey, so they're going to give you the results. They're eventually going to help you bring in the fans, bring in this, bring in that. Then you can look at moving in. But you can't. I don't think you could say there's a relegation and a promotion type of thing. See, I've never really heard of that till I came to England anyway, when you guys look at football and things like that. But I don't think that you can do that, and I don't think it would sustain it, because if you forced a team up, like you look at the NIHL too, and if you asked Telford and Hull to move up, but they don't have the business plan and they don't have it, etched out and ready to go, they're going to fail. And it's just going to make our league worse, because things are going to fall apart halfway through the season, like we've seen time and time again in English ice hockey, right? And then all of a sudden you're in shambles because you have to fulfill fixtures, and then you got canceled fixtures, and the teams that are depending on those fixtures to generate that for their path, for their structure, then you're in trouble, and other teams can become in trouble. So So no, I promote it only if the organization and the team are ready to do it. Yes,
Yeah.
And I think that they should, and I think that they should let them in. There's too many smart people around to not figure a schedule out with Solway in it.
Yeah.
And it's very, hockey's, the evolution of hockey and everything like that. You look back in the day, and I mean, I think it's the BNL that they had. I mean, they had all sorts of teams in that, and the traveling and all that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. But back in the day too, as well, in the Elite League, like there were guys that worked full time, right, and they still played. But yeah, we get back from Edinburgh at God knows what time, 2:33 in the morning. They're up at 6 for work. Hey, that's the price you pay. And that's what these businesses should promote to their players and tell their players, look, if we're paying you, you're playing. Like, that's all there is to it. Doesn't matter where you become a professional ice hockey player or a semi-professional ice hockey player when you get paid to play. Not talking expenses or anything like that. I'm talking about being paid to play. So, yeah, absolutely, 100% they should go.
Yeah, great. Brilliant. What about you, Tate? As a player actually playing in the league, I suppose we're banging on about. What's your do you think they should go up or not quite? Do you think?
Well, I agree with Dom, to be honest. It all depends on them, really, like how they feel they'd fit into the league. Personally, where they are right now, I feel some of their players may not want the commitment that it is to play 56 plus playoffs. Like that amount of games, it's a lot. But I feel the majority of their team will be willing to take it on. Like the traveling, you can't be an ice hockey player and not want to get to the next level. I can't say there's any ice hockey player that doesn't want to get better always. You always have that drive. So if your entire team is offered to move up with the right business plan, everything's set, everything's good for your team, every single one of those players will agree. And they'll bring in new players, they'll pay players more, like they'll still be able to work. Like I don't see why they can't.
Yeah. Brilliant. How about for you, Dylan? Do you agree with that, or how do you feel?
I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, Solway, top of our league, they've got a few league players, and yeah, I just think what Dom said is bang on. Really, it's like you need to. It's all dependent on them. Like Shute said, it's all dependent on them. So yeah, it's if they want to move up, they can. If they don't, they'll stay in our league. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, I just think they've got a lot of good, strong players that I think would thrive in the National League and obviously have more of a challenge. So yeah, yeah,
great. I suppose as well, it's the message that the league wants to give or send to all these teams and to the players. I suppose, like for you guys and yourself, you've got this kind of long-term game plan that at the moment seems to be working really well in terms of bringing players in, getting players playing, and if it goes well and like teams like Solway are left to stagnate, I suppose it makes you think, well, what's the point in putting these things in place? Obviously, like Carl, from a team perspective, do you want to see Solway bugger off to the next league, or are you quite happy? Would you like them in there with you?
To be honest with you, I admire Grubby and the team, a lot up there because they have a model that we aspire to have, and I think, like I've said previously, I think the performance of the team, the success will determine the evolution, and I think that they're just ahead of our curve, really, and quite a number of years, but they're certainly ahead of the curve, and I think do they deserve it? Absolutely. Would I love to see them challenge? They are also national champions, so they are literally the best club at this level in the country. So it probably is natural progress. But I guess if the commerciality side of it fits, then absolutely. I think for me, if I were in their position and everything was ticking the boxes, I think there'd be a duty to the players and the fans to give them the best quality of ice hockey to watch. So. I think, if you ask the fans, would they want Solway to step up? I think a lot of them would do because I think they've earned the right to be there. So I've got a massive amount of respect for those guys. And I hope one day we can, build a team and, an ethos similar to what they've done, but with the Blackburn Hawks DNA attached in the future. That's the plan. But whatever they decide, I respect that. Yeah,
it's a challenging thing. And it's not an easy question to answer, really. I think everyone would love it in an ideal world for them to move up. But I suppose we do have to accept this is a minority sport.
Well, I think from a competitive nature, I'd love to get them out of the league because it makes it easier to collect points.
Yeah.
But the win than the right. So I think yes, it'll be easier for everybody to have them out of the league, but that's only if they decide to step up and that's the right move for them.
Yeah, no matter what, they're definitely still. If they could play in that league, I still love them in this league because from a development standpoint, it's a win-win, right? Because when you play against a team like that, you put Dylan against these guys and say, Dylan, this is what we need to do. You put Tate against him. Tate's, he's at a different level where he's expected to produce a little bit more against these guys. The higher caliber guys. It helps us get better. It helps me as a coach watching Grubb across the way. What is he doing? How is he doing it? It's helping me in a way. So, and from an organizational standpoint, I'm sure Carl, being quite new into the league and things and seeing how they do things. So yeah, when you ask us, I have massive respect from playing and a coaching level for them. And no matter whatever they decide, it's somebody can get something out of it, no matter what. So that's the way that I see it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Okay, so all I'll do is last couple of questions, really, just so I'll leave you alone on a Wednesday evening. No one really wants, like I said before, dealing with me on a Wednesday evening is a pain in the ass, even for me. So, Dylan, what about for you? Like, obviously, the future, you're in a place that appears to really want to kind of promote like young talent, things like that. What are your personal views, opinion for the rest of your career? Where do you want to be?
I just want to be the best place for me. It's like Blackburn. I've done. I just want to say thank you to Carl, Dom, Anthony, Graham, Fran, all of them, everyone that's been involved with the club this season. I think everyone's done an amazing job. Even all the boys. Like this season, I don't think we were expected to do much. I think we were just more. Do you know what I mean? Like we were just more put together But yeah, for me personally, I just want to be the best I can be. I feel like for me, a lot of this year is, like I've mentioned about 3 times now, it's just all about improving for me, improving my game, just focusing on myself, getting better, getting stronger, getting fitter, coming up against harder guys to make you a better player. So, I just feel like, there's a lot more locked inside of me than that needs to be let out, if that makes sense. Like I feel like there's so much more that I could come out of me than I think, and I think I lack that in confidence sometimes. But it's all about learning. It's all about learning, getting to know yourself, especially as a player. It's hard sometimes. You doubt as a hockey player. I think if something doesn't go your way, you doubt yourself quite a lot, and it does get to you when other people say, "Oh, why the fuck, bad pass," or whatever, or something like that. You think, "Oh yeah, it was a shit pass." Like, do you know what I mean? Or like something like that. It does get to you, but you have to be like this season. I feel like I've been very strong-minded and not letting things get to me. And I just feel like I just want to improve as much as I can. Maybe play national, wherever hockey takes me, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool. It's nice that I think it's that pathway that tends to kind of, I suppose, gives you that possibility to see it. Obviously, Tate, what about yourself? Where obviously you kind of had a bit of time, you've done not bad so far. You could retire now if you wanted. Job done. Yeah, what do you think?
Don't you dare.
No, I don't really want to set a limit on where I'll end up, like the highest level I can play, because I feel like it just limits you. Like you feel like you put a ceiling on yourself, and I don't really want to do that. I just want to keep playing where I enjoy it, play where all the guys are great. Like right now, Blackburn and Leeds, both rooms are incredible. Like You go in, like everyone's laughing, joking on the ice, like at training. You can feel that seriousness, like the compete level, but it's still a good laugh. It's a good joke. Everyone can have fun. You know, all the coaches having a laugh with you. It's just great. But for the future of my career, I don't really know. I could go abroad. I could stay in the country. I could try get to the highest level I can in this country, and if I'm still not satisfied, move abroad, see what happens with me. But as of right now, I'm happy where I am. I'm comfortable in my Blackburn and Leeds shell. Gonna stay and just see where I can progress.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. Honestly, guys, look, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate the time you've taken to come on and explain stuff. So thanks so much. Brilliant.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.